speaker. Okay, so we're going to be talking about discovering your passion, working towards excellence. We have an international motivational speaker, an award-winning author. Back there he has his book titled, Are You Climbing the Wrong Mountain? It is back there for you guys for purchase if you guys are interested. And he is highly sought after international motivational speaker, again, award-winning author, and a personal development strategist that helps people take an objective look at themselves. He is the CEO of ConeyPrince.com, where their slogan is making motivational personal by introducing you to yourself. With an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, Mr. Prince has used his love of learning to continue educating himself. He then passes on these lessons via engaging stories and illustrations during his motivational speeches. Mr. Prince is married to Yolanda Prince, and they have 5 children, Marcellus, Christian, Jessica, Taylor, and Jonathan. Give him a warm hand, Mr. Tony Prince.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am so excited to be here and just sitting in the back listening to a lot of the information that was being shared with y'all. I mean, y'all are getting top-notch stuff.
Yes.
I'm telling you. And I want you to give Mr. Robinson a hand. Come on, give it up, give it up. And I can honestly say, after listening to him and seeing how passionate and how sincere he is, that this is his right mountain. My wife told me that she heard somebody say that I already know what my passion is. I already know what my mountain is. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And you're starting at the best possible time. Because I tell you that there are a lot of adults that didn't really answer, they didn't answer that question, and they find themselves doing stuff that they were trained to do, as opposed to what they were ordained to do. But when you found out what your true passion is, there's no stopping you. There's nobody that's going to keep you from getting where you want to be. I was telling my kids the other day about, I didn't want to be a truck driver. That's not a passion of mine. If I had to do that, it would be difficult. It would be hard. I would spend so much time trying to figure out how to get the truck in gear, being a semi-driver, but that's not my passion. But when you've identified what your passion is, it's not hard for you to pour yourself into it. I'm so excited about how passionate you are about the stuff that you're doing. I mean, for you to take time out of your summer to come and be a part of this camp, because you're considering your future. And for your parents, I want to give the parents a hand. Go with that hand. Give them a hand. Because they are concerned about you and about where you're going. Now, my book is entitled, Are You Climbing the Wrong Mountain? And I got the title of that book from a quote. The quote was by Dr. Miles Monroe. And the quote said that the greatest failure in life is to succeed at the wrong assignment. The greatest failure in life is to succeed at the wrong assignment. And when I first heard that quote, the first thing that came to my mind was a picture. A picture of somebody standing on top of a mountain saying, I did it! But at the bottom of the picture, the caption said, but you're on the wrong mountain. And when you consider how much time and effort and energy it takes to climb a mountain, for you to realize and figure out that you're on the wrong one, I mean, that can be disheartening. That can actually take a whole lot out of you. But like I said earlier, I'm so glad that you have found your mountain and your passion. Now the thing of it is, even in the book, I have several chapters, and y'all have actually skipped over a lot of this stuff. But I know chapter 6, it talks about identifying your right mountain, and that's where you are now. How many of you would do or would play sports even if you did get paid? I mean, because you love the game, for the love of the game, okay? Now those are the individuals that you can't stop and you can't keep them from being better, from being excellent. A lot of you are gifted, a lot of you have talent, But if you don't put in the work, if you don't perfect your passion, you're not going to set yourself apart. I know a lot of people, I know a lot of speakers that are gifted speakers, but they won't put in the work. And you can tell they're not getting better at their craft. And even in what you're doing, you have to put in the work. You need to make the practice harder than the game. I'm going to say that again because somebody missed that. You need to make the practice harder than the game. Yeah, and you may want to write that down because that's important. It's important for you to know that you need to put in so much work in the practice that the game is just a gravy. When you face so much difficulty, when you wanted to quit, in fact, when you've been outrun, you want to make sure that even in the practice that you are giving your all. See, a lot of people wait until they get to the game, well, now I'm going to actually turn it up. No, you need to turn it up in the practice. You need to give it all in the practice because then when the game comes, you know, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for the competition because I've given my all in the practice. The game just becomes the gravy. So you have an opportunity while you're practicing, while you're putting in the work, you can know beyond a shadow of doubt you're giving your best. The difference even in what you're doing. And I know team sports can always be a challenge because you look at yourself and then you look at the person next to you. And you think to yourself, well, I may be doing more than they are. How many of you would consider yourself leaders? By a show of hands. You consider yourself a leader. Okay? Leaders have a very challenging task because you have to find out what motivates the other players. Even if you're not, let's say, the captain of the team, but you have influence. People listen to you. They look up to you. They follow your example. They do what you do. So you have the responsibility of putting out your best to show them that they need to give theirs. Because if you don't put out your best, guess what? They're going to, exactly, they're not going to put out theirs. So as a player, even without the title, you still need to lead. You still need to lead. I can't tell you how many people in the corporate world find themselves saying, well, I'm not going to do the position because I don't have the title. But then they'll find somebody else who doesn't have the title, but they're willing to do it. They're willing to learn the position before they get the title. You see, companies know, they know, if I give you the title, it's hard to take the title back. But if I see somebody already doing the job, if I see somebody already stepping up, if I see somebody already encouraging their fellow players, if I see them doing that, I don't have a problem with giving them the title because they're already doing the work. But so many of us, we want to actually be put there first and then start doing it. You can learn so much just even while you don't have the title. You can have that sort of influence, that sort of impact on your classmates, on your teammates. And it's important for you to realize that there's somebody watching you. Not just on your team. There are little kids that are watching you. Maybe they are in your family, in your neighborhood, and maybe they attend your place of worship. But they're watching you. They're watching how you carry yourself. They're watching how you act, how you treat other people, how respectful you are, how honest you are. I was sharing with somebody, I was speaking at a company, and I was sharing with them about integrity even off the job. And I gave this example. I said, how many of you have a bank? They all raised their hands. I said, how many of you go into the bank on a regular basis? They all raised their hand. I said, how many of you have a teller that you're kind of used to dealing with because you've known them? They all raised their hand. I said, okay, now what if you saw that same teller, the one that deals with your money, the one that has access to your account, they're not on the job, maybe it's on the weekend, maybe they're at the mall, and you see them, and you notice that they're shoplifting. Now they're not at the bank, they're not on the clock, they're not dealing with your money, but you see them somewhere else doing something that doesn't reflect what the company stands for. Now, how likely are you going to want to go back to that telling? Probably not. Probably not. Simply because you saw them somewhere else now doing something that wasn't becoming of the company. But even as playing sports, even being a sports player, even off the field, and we've talked about social media so much today, off the field, there's so many things that are being attached to you. So you have to be conscious of who you hang around and the decisions that you make, because they can have lasting effects. When I was your age, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones, thankfully. I'm grateful for that. But you're growing up in a time to where almost everything you do, it shows up online, and it's there forever. People can search you, and they've done that. They Googled almost every one of you, and they look for not only stuff that you posted, but your friends when they tag you in it. You may not post it, but if your friends post and tag you in it, you have to be careful with who you consider and call friend, especially when it comes to your career, because like Mr. Robin said, this is a business. People are looking for a return on investment. None of you will want to put all this time, energy, and effort into this and not make it to where you want to go. You're looking for a return. So with that being the case, I would encourage you to know exactly where you're headed. Identifying the right mountain. As I said, you think you've already done it, but chapter 8 talks about moving your mind to the new mountain. I can't tell you how many people I've met and counseled that are still where they don't want to be from a mental standpoint. There are so many people that have won the lottery, and yet 3 to 4 years afterwards they're broke. Because their mindset never changed. The mindset never changed. I told my kids that I'm not raising children, I'm raising adults. I said, but we're not adults. I said, okay. I said, do you wait till you get to church to put your church clothes on? They said, no. I said, you wait to get to school to put your school clothes on? They said, no, sir. I said, do you wait until you get in the pool to put your swimming suit on? They said, no. I said, that's right. I said, why? Because you always get ready somewhere else, right? You always get dressed somewhere else. I said, well, you don't wait till you become an adult to learn how to be one. I said, now is the time, and this is the place where you learn the skills you need to be an adult. And you actually become a success before you're successful. You have to write that down. You become a success before you are successful. And what I mean by that is this. In your mind, mentally, you become a success. You see yourself there. You've moved yourself there. You start acting and carrying yourself as if you've already achieved your goal. And that's what makes you stand out. That's what makes you different from your competition. Because you're carrying yourself. You're already there mentally. You've already moved your mind to that location. You've already accepted the responsibility that comes with doing it, with being it. As she mentioned in my bio, we have 5 kids. And they range from the age of 32 to 12. I have 3 girls, 2 boys. And so I spend a whole lot of time talking. I tell people, I say, look, if I had to spank my children every time they did something wrong, I would have to contract it out. I would have to hire somebody. But even with that being the case, I realize just how important it is not just to tell them stuff, but to tell them in such a way where they'll remember it. And I want you to understand that as a student athlete who's not going to be a student for long, you are positioning yourself for a better life, not just for you, but for your family. How many of you, by show of hands, have family members that are rooting for you to succeed in sports? Why? Anybody? Why?
Because sometimes your family members want them like they want you to make it big.
Okay. And of course, making it big comes with what? Money. What's up? Consequences true. Consequences and money. So when you get to that plateau and you get to that level where you are starting to make the big bucks, I'm kind of hesitant. Well, there's a movie called The Last Fall. And in fact, you may want to write that down. You can check it out on, it's on Netflix. The Last Fall. It's directed by a friend of mine called Matthew Cherry. He lives in Los Angeles, California. He was a former football player who got injured. And he wound up having these stories. It's kind of a loose documentary on his life. But I mention that because you have to make sure that you are prepared for not just success on the field, but off the field. They talked about academics. It's so important for you to have not a plan B, but another plan A if something happens. You know, people always talk about, having a plan B. No, you don't have a plan B. You make another plan A. Because if you are dividing your time between those two things, you're not going to make it. Academics is a part of your scholarship. It's a part of you being able to make it. Having the knowledge and the understanding, because there are a lot of people that make a whole lot of money, then they're broke afterwards, even if they don't get injured. But if they get cut, they still find themselves, okay, now what do I do? I still have another 40, 50 years of life to do. So being smart, not only on the field, but off the field, is going to make sure that you have the level of success that you really want. So I was telling a friend of mine just the other day of the importance of being the average age of y'all in here, 15, 16. So what do you think you're going to be in 10 years? 5 years? Okay.
If I don't make it pro, then I want to be an electrical engineer.
Electrical engineer, okay. All right. So, anybody else? Yes.
Like you said, all like was really good, but I wanted to
Okay. And again, given those two options, you don't have to pick one or the other. You can have them both. But you also have to be able to focus, and you have to have the level of discipline needed in order for you to achieve that goal. There are a lot of people that have said that, well, I don't know if I can really do this. I don't know if I can really make it. The reality is, when you put your mind to anything, like when you have focused on it to the point to where it's like, it's going to happen, you can do everything in your power to make that a reality. But again, you have to have the vision first. This microphone, somebody said, I would like to be able to walk and talk with no cord. So they made a cordless microphone. Everything in this room came from somebody's imagination. And again, you have to be able to have the vision to see yourself where you want to be. Because if you don't, are you really going to get there? I've known people that have left and they've gone after jobs that they weren't really convinced on, in fact, they weren't really sold on, and they wind up coming back, or they wind up quitting or changing their mind. You have to make sure that you know what your passion is, that you know what your purpose is, and you have to factor that into your life. And all the information, in fact, that you're getting today and this week has definitely helped you in that respect. But I also wanted to mention, too, that not only do you have to move your mind to the new mountain, but it also helps if you have a plan in place. I can't tell you how many people I know that want to just kind of fly by the seat of their pants. And being able to talk to somebody who's already been there, someone who's already done what you're trying to do, someone who knows more than you, that definitely helps you in you getting to that place and you get into where you want to be. I was driving I live in Mobile, Alabama, to Atlanta, I had some family members that were coming behind me. I mean, because I left probably about 4 or 5 hours. I'm sorry? Yes, I left 4 or 5 hours ahead of them, and I ran into some traffic outside of Evergreen because they were working on the interstate, so they had a detour. So, like what I did, I said, well, you know, it'd be nice if I let them know. If I called them and told them that, hey, once you get to Evergreen, there's going to be a detour, so you need to slow down and make sure that you don't have an accident. Well, in doing so, I helped position them to where they would know about that particular pitfall. When you talk to people like Mr. Robinson, when you talk to people like your parents and your counselors, they've been where you're trying to go. They offer you information to help you, to actually give you a game plan in order to get to where you say you want to be. And so listening to them, knowing that they have your best interests in mind, is what's going to help you be able to actually achieve that goal. And I know oftentimes it's hard to actually ask questions, or sometimes in fact you don't want to seem like, well, I don't know. But one of the best things you can do is get the best information. And if you don't understand something, just say, hey, look, I don't understand. Can you explain it? Is there something else I can read? Is there something else I can do in order to actually get the information that I need? Because that's going to make all the difference in the world as to whether or not you are going to actually be successful in what you're doing. Because so many people try to recreate the wheel. They say, well, I'm going to do it different than what somebody else. And you have to be careful about that, because you can spend a lot of time, energy, and effort doing something that's not going to get you where you need to be. Just humble yourself and be willing to get the advice and help you need. Be willing to ask. Say, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing this. Can you help? Is this a good idea? And I would even encourage you to do this. Try 2 or 3 people. People that you know who actually has your best interest in mind. They really care about you and they want to see you succeed. Those are the individuals I know growing up, I would kind of bounce ideas off of. And they may even be teammates. But you also want to make sure that you get somebody that has a little age on you, that has a little more experience in life, and that can really help you get to where you want to be. So when I started at what I'm doing now, I didn't really start out speaking. As you mentioned, I have a bachelor's degree in electronic engineering, and I have an associate's degree in electronics. And I was actually at a conference in Dallas in 2012, and I got a phone call. And the phone call told me that my company had been selected to be a part of the Quick Pitch Business Olympics. And I was going to have to present my business, pitch it, in front of a select panel of judges and the listening audience. But I got the call the night before. How many of you know sometimes you're not going to even have time to prep? See, that's why you have to work now. You have to put in the work now, because you never know when the call is going to come. I was at the conference. They wanted to wait until everybody got there, because they didn't want to tell you and then you didn't show up. They want to wait till everybody got there, and then they started calling people while they were there. So they called me at 7 o'clock Thursday night, 9 o'clock Friday morning. I had to present in front of a listening audience and a select panel of judges. One of the judges was a guy by the name of Mike Roberts. Mike Roberts owns 12 city blocks in downtown Detroit. He's a billionaire. So this is who I'm pitching my business to. Now, at the time, I did 3D animation. I had a company called 3D Solution Providers. So when I got the call, and when I hung the phone up, the first thing I did was I started practicing my elevator speech, where I talked about my company and what we did and how we helped our clients. And I started going over and over and over again. Again, you need to make the practice harder than the game. I didn't wait until I got up there to start. Like, you can't wait until you get called out to a recruiter. You can't wait to start running your exercises. You have to do those before. So when I got up, I got there early. You need to learn how to show up early. Write that down. I need to learn how to show up early. Because when you show up early, you have an opportunity to take advantage of stuff. If you show up late, You are running, you can't focus. There's so many things that are in your way. I got there early. And what I did was when I got there, I looked and I saw that there was a guy in the back running the AV system, the projector and the microphones. I said, hey, can you play a MPEG file? He said, sure. I said, okay, I have a file on my phone. Can you copy it over to your system? And he did. He copied it over, he pulled it up, he made sure that it played, the sound was great, everything was fine. I said, good. I said, so when I get up and I'm going to start talking, because I only had 3 minutes. This wasn't like in church where you just keep going and going and going. They cut your mic. After 3 minutes, they cut your mic. So I had to get in there. I had to stay within my time. And see, a lot of us, we need to learn how to stay within our time. Write that down. Stay within the time allotted. Because there are so many, like even in a football game, you don't have 4 quarters. When the time is up, whoever has the most scores wins. So I had to stay under that 3-minute time period. I couldn't go 5 or 6 or 10 minutes because there were other people that were coming behind me. So we had everything ready. I was sitting on the front row, and of course I was nervous. I mean, this is a national conference. This wasn't regional. I mean, we had companies from all around the country, and I was selected to be one of them. And so they start calling names. First person, wasn't me. I was so glad. Because I was nervous. I mean, I really didn't want to fail or fall flat on my face at that particular conference. But what I've learned is this. In fact, the reason that you find yourself being nervous is because it's important. If you didn't care about it, you wouldn't have any sort of anxiety. You wouldn't have any sort of fear. But because you want to win, because you want to do your best, there will be some nervousness. In fact, there will be some fear. But you have to learn how to turn your butterflies into bullets and shoot them towards your goal. Turn your butterflies into bullets and shoot them towards your goal. Because that's what's going to drive you for you to really succeed at what you want to do. I wound up being company number 8. When they called me, I went up there and I started my spiel. Again, because I had practice, because I had gone over and over and over again, because I made the practice harder than the game, I got up there and I was able to deliver my speech, to tell them about my company. And then even halfway through, I stopped. I said, maybe I got to play the animation. And he did. He pulled up my demo reel. And on the screen behind the judges, they actually had to turn around and watch. They looked at all of the stuff that I had done. See, you have to be able to set yourself apart. I really don't remember what the other speakers spoke about, but I know one thing. I stood out. I stood out to the judges. I stood out to the audience. Now, I'm on stage with the judges, so I can't see what score I got. But from the response of the audience, it was obviously pretty high. And so what happened was, they didn't announce the winner then. They waited until lunch to announce the winner. And I wound up winning that contest. Now, when I did that, I had an epiphany. I realized that my words could be used for more than selling a product or service. That my words could be used to help uplift and change people's lives. And so with that being the case, I realized that that wasn't my mountain, selling stuff. It was encouraging people. So even from that lesson, there are things that you can apply to what you're trying to do. Making the practice harder than the game. Showing up early. Giving your best. Being that influence to your teammates. Realizing just how incredible you are. And just how much you have to offer. That makes all the difference in the world as to whether or not you're going to be able to make that impact. Now, I want to ask this question. What schools are you considering going to? yeah. All right.
Two schools that I looked at is Mercer University and Auburn University.
Okay. All right. You.
I was at Alabama and UCO.
Okay.
Albany State and Tennessee State.
Okay. All right.
Southern University and LSU.
Okay. All right. You. Not you. Okay. You had to decide. All right. What about you? No one. You.
Florida State and
Okay.
University.
Colorado State and Middleton, Tennessee.
Okay.
USF and UCO.
All right.
Florida State and Oregon.
And Troy.
Oregon.
Oregon. Okay.
Florida and Auburn.
Oregon. Auburn. Okay.
Miami, Florida State.
Okay.
San Francisco,
Okay.
Florida State and Texas.
Okay. All right. You.
Florida State or UCO.
Okay. All right. You. Okay. Cool. You.
Florida State,
Okay. 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 You. Okay. You haven't decided? Any other players? I can say everybody else is fair. Well,
wait for See how y'all do.
well,
I ain't looked at their program yet, bro.
Maybe y'all need to start looking at it.
and that's what I was going to make the suggestion, that you really need to start doing your research. Because again, they are researching you. They are looking at you. You need to research them and see if they are going to be the best fit for you. Financially, I mean, even with your aspirations and your goals, you can even, and see, again, y'all have access to the internet. Y'all can find out so much stuff. You can even see what teams, what professional teams, where they do their most recruiting from. But then again, that also depends upon your ability to perform. So you got to bring the A game. If there's anything that I want you to take away from what I've shared with you today is this. You have to make the practice harder than the game.
Y'all write that down.
I did.
They wrote it down early. They have to make the practice harder than the game. So when you're in practice, don't just look at it as practice. Look at it as this is my chance to make sure that I've given it my all. So that when game day comes, you know what you can do. So many people want to hold back and say, I'm going to wait till the game and then get, no. You need to make the practice harder than the game. There are so many people, especially even in basketball, they play in empty courts with speakers blaring. I mean, noise everywhere. Because they need to be able to focus. Because with all the people in there, it's not going to be quiet. They're not going to have a chance to just, okay, shoot. There are going to be so many distractions. I'm sure you've seen the games where they're behind the goal, waving stuff. They're trying to distract them. So when they're practicing, they make sure I've already compensated for that. And you need to learn how to do the same thing. Make your practice harder than your game. I want to thank you for your time. Thank Mr. Robinson for allowing me to come and sit with y'all. Thank you, y'all.
As a token for our appreciation, we have this for you. It's a MRN t-shirt and a mug. Thank you so much, Mr. Fernandez. Oh, yes. Volunteer to thank. This is awesome. Okay, several. I'll pick two.
I got it.
Wait. Somebody raise their hand first.
I ain't never did.
Put it off.
I would like to thank you for giving us information on how to excel in our careers on whatever it is, and how to find out what we should excel in, and how to set our mindset to know what are we good at, and what do we want to do, not what are we trained to do. That was one of the quotes, right? So, yes, thank you so much.
Anybody else?
No, I don't want to do it.
Thank you for sharing also.
My name is Zion Smith, and I want to tell you thank you for coming, talking to us, and telling us that making the practice harder than the game will prepare us for the game, and basically that, and what else we wrote. put your best for others for their best during the game too.
Thank you. Oh, I guess Mr. Harmon.
My name is Aaron Hardaway. I go to Westwood High School. I'd like to thank you for coming out, giving your time, because you didn't have to do this, but you came out and did it. Because you want to teach us some things that we didn't know. And I want to thank you for telling us about the integrity and putting our best work out so other people can take over. I mean, not take over, but, put their best work out. Also, one of the things that hit good was the practice harder than the game. Because some people go half speed in practice because they're thinking, oh, it's just practice.
Right.
But they need to go 100% because so they can go 100% during the game. But I'd like to thank you again for coming out.
And I guess they're very appreciative. All right, Mr. Davis.
He took all my words.
Mr. Davis.
My name is Sean Davis. I was in Washington High School, and I'd like to thank you for coming out today and telling us about how good make practice better than the game. And yeah.